Hello, welcome back. This is Lou Bayer, co-founder with Jessie Lynn Brown out of Taiwan of the World Citizen Alliance. And today I'm sharing a little bit of insight. We're walking through how to use one of the takeaway support lessons. This is There's Room for All of Us. It's about shared spaces. It's lesson 4 of the takeaway lessons in the World Citizen Alliance Certificate for Civility for Children and Youth. So this lesson, let me get my face out of here and let me pop up the lesson for you here. Here we go. Oh, this is just for the occasion. That's not what we want. We want you to see this one, which is Room for All of Us. Pardon me. Okay, so I'll move my face out too. So this lesson, as with all of the other lessons, there's a lesson plan that shows the learning objectives, the theme, rationale, some recommended reading, and so on. The idea here is that we're trying to teach the children about shared spaces. So part of this ties to citizenship, as you would guess. You know, we're living together on the planet, and one thing that you could do when you're introducing this lesson is to start that way. You know, start with a big space. Here's a globe or a picture or a planet. And then go to a country, and then go to a city, and then go to a community, and then go to a school, and then go to a classroom. You know, you could show people how, you know, there's all different sizes of spaces, but at the end of the day, we're sharing the planet and everything. And it's an easy way to introduce the idea of we're in it together, we're all citizens, we have this shared space that we're trying to take care of and pass on to future generations. So we want people to understand both responsibility, the idea of sharing, the idea of taking care of things, and this ties a bit to self-respect. It also ties a little bit to impressions. You know, if we're not sharing spaces, if we're using more than our share, if we're being greedy, you know, there's an impression there. It also relates to the golden rule. You know, why would we, if we would like other people to let us in the space, then we should let them in the space. If we think we deserve to have the whole couch to ourselves and everybody else sits on the floor, then we can't be disappointed when we arrive late and we have to sit on the floor because somebody else doesn't want to share the couch. So it's also, in a way, an introduction to equality and how everybody is deserving of a fair share. And we get into that message in other lessons, but all of the lessons, the core concepts are entwined, but I would call this a foundational lesson. That's why it's included in the first 5 takeaway lessons with level 1. This is a key message that every child should learn. So part of the reason we care about this is because we want children to get along well with others. We want them to understand that there's social rules and expectations for how we interact in the world, shared spaces, and so on. So there's some great recommended reading here, some great books. You can look in your country and online if there's books in your language or similar types of topics in libraries, and of course incorporate those into your training as well. And if you do find those, please send us photographs and emails. Make a short video about the book, speaking in your language. So for example, if the book is in Chinese, you know, do a little book review and post it and send us the video so that we could share it with other trainers and help them have access to those good tools. So, in this particular lesson, we want to start, and I think this is a good one for parents. If you're going to invite parents to a lesson, this is a good one to invite them to because, as I mentioned, it does, in a way, introduce the idea of raising respectful children and being a good citizen of, you know, our home, our community, the school, the world, and so forth. So, again, it's a 1-hour lesson that can be expanded or reduced however you might see fit. There are some handouts, activity for take-home and one for classroom. We have always some terms to know, and I believe at the beginning of your online course there's actually a glossary that lists all of these terms, and you can make a game out of the definitions, but I would make sure, especially for the older kids, that you define these terms. And if you're interacting with young children, use simpler terms, right? You see the word graffiti there, so what I can tell you is this is something that we actually do. I call it goodwill graffiti. And I get a big roll of white paper, or I stick flip charts together. I cover a big section of the floor, or a big section of the wall with paper. And then I get washable watercolor markers or washable paints. I tell children to wear an old shirt or a painting shirt, and I let them graffiti good stuff. So they can't draw anything gory, anything that is violent. They have to graffiti, like spray paint even, positive words and good images, good pictures. I call it goodwill graffiti. And sometimes then I'll take a photograph of it and I'll make them little cards that they can use as invitations to the party that we're going to have at the end of the series, or a little, next time they come to class, they've got their graffiti framed or laminated as a little poster that they can put in their rooms, all of this goodwill graffiti. But we're making a mention there, of course, that graffiti is disrespectful generally if we're damaging somebody else's property or a shared and public space, right? Okay, so moving along here, of course we're going to make sure the children know each other. We're going to talk again about respect and some of these key terms. We're going to talk about citizenship. We're going to introduce the idea that we're all living together. We have to cooperate. We're part of a community, right? We can talk about how we care for ourselves. That's that self-care, self-respect lesson that you've already done. And we can talk about caring for each other and for our pets and for the park. Managing our resources. That's why we recycle, right? And we want to talk about not taking things that don't belong to us, asking before we borrow, that if we do borrow, we should give something back, those kind of things. The suggestion here is we can start really simple with 5 and 6-year-olds. 3 and 4-year-olds even. I will get from the dollar store, or you can make them if you have feathers and stuff, but little dusters, little feather dusters, those tiny little brooms with little dustpans. Sometimes they're in the toy section too. Little mops, and sometimes you can let children put on rubber gloves and have a spray bottle that is, it can even just be water or, really diluted, non-dangerous. You don't want to use chemicals, of course, but, we say, we'll start by shared spaces. Let's show the space some love. So we're trying to show some gratitude and appreciation, but we're also trying to teach children how even the littlest things can add up. And taking care of something now might mean having it for a long time, or keeping it safe and clean for the next person. So you can actually say to children, let's show the room some love, and let them wash the chair legs. Let them clean the wall, markers off the wall. Let them wash down the tables or the windows. Let them dust the books. All of these things, just one way of showing them that we can show respect for shared spaces. And they can do this at home. You can ask them, when you come back next session, there will be a special badge for anyone who brings a letter from their parent showing that they showed care for a shared space. So what did you do at home to show that you care about these shared spaces and to show respect for things that don't belong to you and places that you share with other people? So then we can show clips, or if you have access, you could take children for a walk and you can show them, this is a park bench. Lots of people have to sit here, so we don't spit on it or put our muddy shoes on it. We don't put our gum under the bench, right? So some of this is social etiquette that we're teaching, but also we're introducing the idea that everybody plays a role. We all contribute positively or negatively. So we can talk about drawing a picture with little children. Where's your favorite place to go? Is it the playground? Is it the museum? Is it the circus? Is it the beach? And then one by one pull up those pictures and scenarios and have the discussion with them. What's shared here? Oh, the sand, the water. what belongs to somebody else, the towel, the umbrella, right? And we just talk about how you behave in those situations. And we talk about how knowing the rules helps us fit in. It makes a good impression. It makes us feel safe and comfortable and confident. So we can ask these quiz questions as a way of testing, what do we know? We can do the graffiti activity. We can even do something if you have access. For example, our etiquette school in Winnipeg, Canada is right across the street from our park. So we would give every child little rubber gloves, give them, a garbage stick, that's, you poke the garbage, it's not too sharp, or a little garbage bag or bin, and we would go clean up, right? We would rake the park, or we would pick up garbage. We would walk along the sidewalk and make sure that it's a clean, safe space. Sweep outdoors, get them outside, a little bit of exercise, but at the same time, show them how we can care for a shared space. So that lesson for sure will take you an hour, but you can expand it. And depending on how many children you have in the class, you just want to be careful. If you ask them to draw a picture and say a space, if you have 9 kids, you have to make time to talk about 9 spaces so that nobody feels left out. So sometimes you can actually put in a bowl little notes that have a space on it and let the children one by one pick out of the bowl and see or say, or you say for them what space they picked, and then have a conversation about it if it's too much trouble to draw pictures and so forth. All right, so good luck with that lesson. You can email events@civilityexperts.com if you have any questions, and if you have some ideas and things that you would like to do to make the lesson your own or customize it, considerations for culture and so forth, then by all means, please make us a clip, send us a note so that we can share with everybody else.